What's up, y'all? Sparta here. And for this video, I want to do an actual comparison between AirPods Pro and the LG tone-free FN7, but solely for brevity's sake, I'm going to call these the tone-free ANCs. It rhymes, and it's just, I guess, more elegant. So let's get into this. Um, so I just got these last night, and I will talk. I've talked about AirPods Pro in the past plenty. I said in my video reviewing these that the ANC is pretty much on par with the AirPods Pro, and I wanted to make sure I was actually getting that right. So I just got a pair of them, right? And let's get into this. So you pretty much get. Let's look at the packaging first. Obviously they look very similar. There's only really so much you can do with a true wireless earbud box. The only real difference is that the AirPods Pro, you know, this is embossed where it, it's textured and it jets out from the box itself, as you can see here, whereas this is just flat. And to me, that's not necessarily it's not a big deal. At the end of the day, it's just a box that you're either going to save or throw away. But both pretty much do the same thing, where front, back, and it literally tells you what you get in the box. Well, I guess on here it doesn't tell you what you get in the box, but in the box on here you get a USB-C to Lightning cord. You obviously get the AirPods. You get your usual books and crap and your typical Apple stickers. you get interchangeable ear gels that are proprietary to the AirPods Pro. There are some like Comply out there that you can get from like drop.com or something or places like that are Comply. So if you roll that route, you can just get those separately. These aren't necessarily proprietary. I have put other ear gels onto the tone-free ANCs here, and it fits in the case just fine. But for larger ones, it does seem to be an issue with and this isn't just these. It tends to be an issue with true wireless earbuds in particular, where say the ear tips are just bigger than the case will allow, they just won't fit in the case. And again, that's not necessarily the fault of the tones. It's just what happens with true wireless earbuds that have to be put in a separate case, right? I will say both of these are very comfortable to use in your ear. I don't really have any sort of issues with both. They have different fits, obviously. As you guys can see, the AirPods Pro, this is the left one, and this is the left one, and it goes in like this, where it's very hard for phones to focus on white. Whereas this goes in more like a conventional earbud, where it just goes in and it fits. They both have a similar feel in the ear. I do feel the tone frees are a little bit more comfortable. These do feel a little bit more weightless because they are smaller. Not that these are hefty or anything like that. These feel nice in the ear too, but I do feel that the AirPods Pro just feel lighter, and due to how they just go into your ear, it's just fine, right? It just works. I hate to say that when it comes to Apple, but it just works, and it's effortless. Obviously for both, you will have to find the ear tips that fit for you. That will help with both the ANC and them actually staying in your ear. They both have different kind of controls. This has more of a haptic button control than it has like this whole the whole stem is not a touchpad, which is good. It was very weird on like the tone-free FN4s where it was very hard to know where you had to tap and able to play, pause, or do whatever, right? Whereas on these, since there's this haptic button here, you know where to tap. On the AirPods Pro, it's a squeeze gesture. Let me so the algorithm doesn't decide to come at me. But yeah, what was I about to say? Oh yeah, these have a squeeze gesture, and you only really get play, pause, skip tracks. You get your you get you obviously get your going to ANC or going to transparency mode, and that's all you get when you're not on an iPhone. You don't get a battery level through the Bluetooth indicator at all. Whereas on the tone freeze on not on Samsung phones, which I've been using it with my S20 FE more recently because that's my work phone. You don't get that in the indicator bar, whereas say on the V60, you get the battery level in the indicator bar. But that's not necessarily a huge issue because the app also gives you the battery levels of both earbuds and the case. So that's very nice, and you can do a lot more with it. And the controls on here, they can control everything, and you could set each individual earbud to have different setups and stuff like that. So say you want your single tap on your left to be a volume down, double tap to be a skip track, reverse track, stuff like that. You can do that. The only two settings you can't change is the ANC and transparency mode, and that's pretty much it. In terms of, say, overall ease of use and how both of these feel and stuff like that, how both of these operate, they're both pretty much on par in terms of ease of use. I don't necessarily think one is more complex than the other. You can do more with the other one. I do feel the tone freeze are definitely more malleable to EQs and stuff like that, whereas the AirPods Pro, since it has a dynamic EQ, it can be a little bit more difficult to get the sound that you want out of them. So let's talk about ANC here. Apologies, it's cold. Obviously, I got the window open, but it's cold. So if you're hearing my voice shaking a little bit, that's why. The AirPods Pro may seem like they do better, but here's something that you have to keep in mind. The cabinet pressure that the AirPods Pro have, where it basically sucks the noise out of the area, and essentially when you put both into your ear, it's intense, and that may make people think that the AirPods Pro just do better, right? They don't. They're pretty much on par. But there are times where I feel the AirPods Pro do better. There are times where I feel the tones do better. And let me talk about this. Overall, ANC, I do feel both are equal. But there are issues with both that I do want to talk about. In terms of the AirPods Pro, the issues are due to how loosey-goosey they fit in your ear a little bit. When you're on a bus or something like that, you will feel the earbuds jostling your ear. That does tend to be a thing. With the tone freeze, the problem mainly tends to be with the ear gels and fit, right? Where the ear gels depend, if you don't have the right ones in there, you can hear popping noises. But obviously, if you just change the ear tips to ones that actually fit in your ear, that just won't be a problem at all. So, yeah. Those are the main issues. In terms of transparency mode on both of these, I do feel both of these, again, are on par. I don't necessarily feel one does better than the other. I will say the AirPods Pro are a little bit sharp with the S's, I do feel. And that kind of carries into music as well. But I think the transparency mode on both are natural. They do feel... They're definitely not robotic. The FN4 ambient mode is quite robotic. LG improved so much with the transparency mode on this that you can't go wrong with either or. And this is cheaper than this still. So yeah, that stuff is good. In terms of durability of the case and stuff like that, as you guys can kind of see already, I have scuffs. This is something I've always talked about with the AirPods Pro. I feel this glossy plastic, while people say, "Oh, it just looks very nice." It feels cheap. Like, I know people are like, "Oh, but the clamp on the case, it's so satisfying to do that," and I will agree. It's satisfying to do that. But for somebody like me that works overnights, that throws 2 trucks basically by himself at night, right? How much these get jostled around in, say, my pocket, and then they get scuffed up by, say, by a metal line that I have to push boxes and throw boxes onto. These are more malleable to getting damaged. This matte finish on the Tone Freeze, yes, there are scratches. Yes, there are scuffs. And I will attest to this on the FN4s as well. I really do like how the implementation LG went here, where it's more, it's just a matte feel. And you just put it in your pocket and you really don't have to worry about it. In terms of, obviously, when you drop both, the earbuds will fly out. But in terms of them flying out, in terms of like a test like this or something like that, both of them are really nice. Both of them stay in really well. The AirPods Pro are more difficult to do this with because of the case design. But as you guys can see, I'm a strong dude. It ain't they're not budging. The magnets in here are strong in the charging case. In terms of battery life and charge time, it is said on the box of the FN7s here that you can get up to 7 hours of playback. I that's not saying 7 hours of playback period. It's saying up to, so it's like 5.5, 6 hours, which I feel is fine. It's which is par for the course for true wireless earbuds. The ANC, the AirPods Pro get like 4.5, 5 hours, sometimes 5.5. So in terms of overall in terms of the battery life, both of them are really good. Both of them get the job done, and I really don't have any sort of issue with that at all. In terms of charge times, every 5 minutes on the Tone Freeze, you get an hour of playback, whereas every 10 minutes on here, you get an hour of playback. The Tone Freeze are just very fast charging earbuds. FN4s are the same way. Where you put them in the case, half an hour, you could use them again fully for another 5 hours. So for me, just because the fact that they don't have, like, say, 8 hours of straight playback on the earbuds themselves, I really don't care. And you get up to 21 hours on both with the case as well. 21 extra hours. So that's like what? 3-4 more charges. So that's really nice. And if you're not using them like fully to the last digit of their, battery life, you're not gonna run out of battery that quickly. So both of them are good in that respect. Obviously, you get Lightning with this, you get USB-C with this. Both of them are wireless charging capable, so that's really nice. If you care about that, I personally don't, because it gets me anxious because the bottom of those case is warm, and I don't really like that. But to each their own, and if you like that, that's totally fine. Let's talk about sound. This is something I feel that is going to be very interesting, because the AirPods Pro, they're not really all that bass heavy. You'd think for AirPods, which tend to be a little bit more bass heavy, especially the old school ones where they actually had ear gels, you'd think they'd be a little bit more bass heavy. But these, they're not flat. There is bass there. Sub bass is really good on this. But the hard hitting, like, deep bass is just not what these are made for. Vocals are clear enough. They're not the clearest out there. It gets the job done. And like I said, they're not malleable to EQ all that much. So I do have an EQ on my V60 for AirPods Pro that I did like, that I do like quite a bit. So I might just carry that over to my S20 FE just to see how that works. Um, Tone freeze. Um, these are very much improved over the FN4s. The FN4s didn't really have that much bass. You had to EQ them pretty heavily to get some sort of bass with them. They were just clear and decent bass, but nothing to be desired. These, however, who just testing them before coming back home from work, the the FN7s, man, the bass on these are great. Like, they really are great. And when you go into the bass boost mode, something I don't tend to like about bass boost mode is that it lowers the vocals and just raises the bass. But for these, the vocals are still there very nicely, and the bass is just hard hitting, man. It's almost on the level of like Sony extra bass true wireless headphones. That's how good it is when you put on the bass boost. But when you don't have bass boost, the bass is very good still. LG really didn't improve the bass on these, and that's very nice. Still tuned by Meridian, so that's something to keep in mind. I really do like how they sound. I don't necessarily have any sort of issues with it. Vocals are nice and clear, especially with podcasts, which I tend to use true wireless headphones for. But you get, I think both of these have AAC and SBC. This doesn't have aptX or anything like that, which kind of sucks. But there are very few true wireless headphones that have aptX, or aptX HD, which suck. And there's no true wireless earbuds with LDAC. So whatever on that front. In terms of updates, you could download the LG Tone Free app. That'll give you the opportunity to update the firmware and stuff like that. Say if there are some sort of issues that may arise with them that may get fixed in the update down the line. With the AirPods Pro, you're either going to have to connect it to a Mac or you're going to have to use an iPhone. And that sucks. Thankfully, I have an iPhone 6S, so I can update them if I want to. But if there's some issue that ends up coming up later on down the line, which did happen with these last year, I think I forgot what it was, but something just didn't work all that well with them later on down the line, and Apple updated them, and I guess it stopped being a thing. These got spatial audio later down the line. That's something that you can only get on an Apple device with the AirPods Pro. If you have an LG phone and you have the Tone Freeze, you can use LG's 3D sound engine, and it sounds really nice. So that's there, and it works for everything. It doesn't just work for movies, so that's really nice. Call quality. The AirPods Pro are known for their call quality. I'm not going to say anything about it. You can look at any other review and you'll see that everyone says the call quality on the AirPods Pro are great. The Tone Freeze, in my review, I did detail the call quality in that, and I did say, and my girlfriend, when I called her, she said that I sounded clear. It sounded like I was on a speaker, which was kind of weird, I guess. But I guess that's very nice to be nice and loud and clear, so that's nice. She said she heard me just fine, and it was cool. So there was nothing with that I felt was a deal breaker at all. And I heard her nice and clear. There was nothing wrong with how the FN7s have handled calls. So overall, what do I feel about both of these? I feel the Tone Frees are definitely better value because you could get every single feature on the Tone Freeze. Oh, and also another thing that doesn't work really as good without an iPhone is the smart sensors, when you take them out of your ear and then it pauses the music, it doesn't work as well out of an iPhone. You can download like assistant trigger and then make it so that it can work, but it just doesn't work well outside of an iPhone if you don't do that. Whereas on this, the smart sensors work beautifully. That's another improvement, actually. The smart sensors on the FN4s were actually kind of weak. They would take a bit to pause the music and take a bit to resume the music. So it was just something that I feel they definitely did improve on. This is something that is very nice. They improved on a lot of stuff over the FN4s. I can't talk about the FN5 or 6s, but the FN4s, definitely they did a very good job at improving over that. And it still comes in this compact case, this puck, this Oreo, whatever you want to call it, right? Whereas this is still a compact case. I do feel both are very good and compact, right? But in terms of durability, this is what I would go with more. You'll have to get a case for this, and there's an abundance of AirPods Pro cases out there, so that's just nice. Really wish you didn't need it, but whatever. Apple likes to design bad cases. Look at what they did with the AirPods Max, right? I think these are 180 or 160. I think I got them for 140 though through Amazon. They were on a sale. These are still 250, I believe. For $70 to $100 less, I do feel these are the better buy. They're more malleable to EQ. They're definitely way more cross-platform. You don't need an LG phone to really get any sort of benefit out of them, which is something I don't like that Samsung is starting to do, is that they're making their headphones more tied to their phones. And to me, that kind of sucks. LG is not doing that, so that's really nice. Hopefully LG doesn't start doing that, because let's be real, not many people own a high-end LG phone, but plenty of people own mid-rangers. Plenty of people have Stilo 6s, they have the K-series, they have all that. So you can get these for someone with a K-series phone, and they would pretty much be in a very good place in terms of true wireless. You get pretty much equal ANC, you get equal ambient modes, you get equal battery life, you get, like, there's really nothing about either of these that I feel truly stomp the other than price. And if you prefer USB-C or Lightning, or if you have an iPhone, I will say these work really good on an Android phone. So for people that always say, oh, but an iPhone, you need an iPhone to use AirPods. Not really. You really don't. Don't listen to that. You just won't get stuff like, you won't be able to turn off ANC and just be in a non-ANC, non-ambient mode at all. You won't be able to use Siri, but I think you still can program it to do Google Assistant with Assistant Trigger. I haven't tested it because I really don't care. I don't use Assistant at all. Sure, you don't get spatial audio, uses it anyway, and it's for specific kind of content. So overall, there's really nothing that one offers over the other that I feel you couldn't just go with this if you have an iOS device or an Android device, or this if you have an Android device or iOS device. So that's it. Both of them are really good options still. There may be new AirPods Pro coming soon. That's been a rumor for a bit, so we'll see what happens with that. But the FN7s to me are really good. They're basically going to make me give the Life.2s to my friend, because I'm just not going to use those anymore. And why? And since he wore them and they were comfortable in his ears and they fit and they stayed in, why not just give him those, right? Another thing, being in the cold. That is something that definitely is an important factor. Batteries tend to die in the cold. Neither of these, that's not the case for either of these. The Live.2's, that battery gets decimated in the cold. Like the battery in the case gets decimated in the cold. And I'm in Minnesota last week. It was like negative 17 degrees, almost negative 30. So it was just the Live.2s just weren't going to be on me. The tone frees were totally fine. I know the AirPods Pro are totally fine. I used them last winter and they were fine. So the batteries don't get destroyed in the cold. That's really good. This is Sparta. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for support. Hope you guys have a wonderful, 25 minutes. Christ. I wanted to make this short. You guys have a wonderful Saturday or whatever time of day it is in the area. Like the video if you like it, dislike it. If you dislike it, share with people that are interested in this sort of content. Thanks for 993 subscribers. Let's reach 1,000, please. And have a good one.